Good morning, everybody in here. I hope everybody's had a great week here at LSI. Big thanks to LSI for putting this on. I've spent 20 years in the med device industry, and I'd say this is by far the best run conference that I've been to. So congrats to the LSI team. Look forward to many more years of it. My name's Kendall. I'm Vice President of Business Development at a company called Vantage MedTech. And in the brief time that I have for you here, no more than 5 minutes, I promise, I just want to sort of position my company in this impressive ecosystem that y'all are a part of and that we're all working to improve patients' life in. So I sort of subtitle this an end-to-end product realization partner, and that's really the headline of who we are. I'll show you kind of how that looks. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in here, I would imagine, I'm not an entrepreneur, unfortunately, but I would imagine that this is kind of what it feels like when you start a business. You've got a huge mountain in front of you, and you're not exactly sure all of the steps that it's going to take to reach the summit. And I can imagine it can feel daunting. There are the things that you know to be afraid of and the challenges you know you're going to have to overcome, and then there's challenges you don't even see coming that you're going to have to contend with as well. And so, you know, as I sort of imagine, as we've talked to, you know, the 300 plus startups that we've worked with over the 25-year time period that we've been in business, there's consistent primary challenges that every entrepreneur is going to have to contend with, right? I got to deliver a product, a device, a technology that adds value in the marketplace, right? It's got to perform, it's got to be differentiated, it's got to solve a problem for a patient, a hospital, an HCP, whatever. And then you got to raise the money to do it. And then you got to understand what your exit strategy is. And those are probably the biggest challenges that you stay focused on day in and day out. And those are the things you're putting your time and your energy into. And you've got these other challenges that you know you're going to have to attack, and maybe you have some direct capability to solve those problems yourselves, or maybe they're employee number 1, number 2, number 3 that you bring in to help work your way through those challenges. They can be time-consuming. They're also challenging. They're a little subservient to the first 3, but you know what they are, and you know that you need to develop a plan to get through them. Then there's this other set of challenges, and this is where my company, Vantage MedTech, starts to come into the picture. They're unpredictable in nature. They're slightly, typically outside of your range of comfortability or your range of experience. I read something the other day that said the average entrepreneur starts 2 companies in their lives, which means as you think about vendor selection, which is what we are, you don't have a lot of experience in that space. And so it can be something that you don't really want to have to deal with, you don't know exactly how to deal with, and it can result in some negative consequences for you if you don't do it well. And so as you think about vendor selection and relationship management, you can imagine that the more relationships you have, the more challenges you have in that space in your effort to deliver the device that you're trying to build or the technology that you're trying to build. More effort in that space can lead to higher cost, delays to your timeline, and duplicated efforts along the way because those vendors need to speak to each other. Many of them will have to start the conversation over, which that causes delays and cost delays as well. And then there's unwelcome surprises. Anytime you're handing a technology off to a new vendor, as I said, they've got to go back and understand what the prior vendor did. There's a loss of continuity, and then there's unforeseen cost shifts that you didn't anticipate in your budget, in your burn rate, and then there's timeline slip. And so these unpredictable challenges are where we offer value in the marketplace. And so if we take that sort of mountain climbing motif a little bit and we plot it on a little bit of a wireframe here, there are definite steps that nearly every medical device development project is going to have to take. You're probably familiar with them. All of these steps along the way, you're going to have to take at some point. And what I want to point out here in my PowerPoint 2003 level technology here is there are different points whereby you probably will have to engage a consultant to do it unless you're willing to expand your payroll a little bit to accomplish these things in-house. even when you do that, your timeline could be at risk, right? So you think about regulatory strategy, understanding how you're going to go to the regulatory body, submit your device for approval, what documentation you're going to need, what approach you're going to take. A lot of times that's a regulatory consultant you're going to bring in. And then if you fast forward, and I'm probably skipping a couple of other junctions here, you're going to have to go to device development, design validation. Ultimately, if your exit strategy is manufacturing, you're going to have to transfer that into a manufacturing facility. This big chasm here between the two peaks, that is a massive challenge for companies. And a lot of times, that is a key point where you're going to hand your device off from the developer to the manufacturer. And that can result in some real challenges. So high level, more vendors, there's a risk of redundancy, there's added costs, there's delayed timeline. Our offer in the marketplace is, as an end-to-end product realization partner, we optimize the process and we're thinking about the end from the very beginning. If you're going to hire for this in-house, not a big list. These are just all the capabilities you're going to have to hire for if you're not going to contract this stuff out. So just think about that. These are all areas where we show up as a partner in the marketplace. This is who we are as a company, 170 engineers, 25 years in business, a lot of experience with startups and strategics. These are the areas that we focus on. I don't expect you to remember these, but complex electromechanical devices, that's where we do best. And I very much appreciate the time. You can contact me. I've got a couple colleagues in the back as well if you prefer to talk to them instead.